What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Longshots Sportscast, Longview, Washington's #1 sports-related podcast, 3 weeks running. I'm your host, Mike Holm, and with me, as always, Brady Rucola.
Good afternoon.
And Skyler Lovingfast.
Hey, how's it going?
And here comes a new challenger, childhood friend and big-time sports and music nut, Jace Gunter.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, so we're all dealing with this pandemic and chilling out. We're going to be talking favorite players of all time, be it from our favorite teams and other teams. So sit back. We know you've got the time, and hang with us for the next couple hours. It's going to be one heck of a show. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing good. So, kind of want to let them know what's going on for this week's episode.
Yes. So we're kind of going into another free-form discussion. Last week we did one about uniforms that I thought was really fun. This week we're going to be talking about favorite players, on and off your team growing up, maybe ones that you've looked and seen old footage on, guys that are still playing right now. It's just kind of another one to get our feet wet. Also, I mean, every week we're working with this audio equipment. We're trying to figure this out and roll this snowball uphill. So, just kind of a fun one there. We've got, we're in April right now, so we're in the middle of draft season, which is going to be interesting. The NFL draft. The first round is on April 23rd, which is a Thursday. We're planning. Normally we would work on a Thursday, but we are actually planning on maybe playing a little hooky. Maybe
senior skip day.
That's right. Maybe watching that bad boy, and
so hopefully no coworkers will be tuning in.
That's right, Adam.
Don't be an arc.
Don't be. Be cool, man. Be cool. We're planning on watching that. By then, I'm hoping to have a webcam. So we can, even at the most basic, that way we can kind of do a live reaction as we watch, because we're going to be watching via Hulu Plus or something. That should be cool. We'll do the round 1 on Thursday. We'll probably do round 2 and 3 on that Friday as well. But for this month, I'm sure some listeners might be wondering, hey, where's the mock drafts coming? When are we going to get those? In due time. And by due time, I mean next week, we're going to be doing a variant of a mock draft where we mock the full first round between the three of us, and we take turns each pick. So, for instance, I'm going to say whoever draws the shortest straw is going to pick first. And then we'll go counterclockwise. The next person will pick will be the Redskins at that pick, and the next person will be the Lions, and so on. And we'll mock out that whole first round. And then the week after, which would be the 17th, we are each going to do a first round. We're going to have a full first round each, and we'll go pick by pick and kind of explain where we have people going and why, which may seem like a bit of a daunting show. But some of these are going to be no-brainers, I think, at least through the first, quarter to half of this draft. It's when you get to that back end that you get a lot of wild cards and guys that you may see slide into that second round. So it should be an interesting show overall. But we got the mock drafts coming the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to live stream and react over the real thing. So hopefully we'll be there on YouTube, and you can join us there. We got the first video up, that uniform episode, finally uploaded to the YouTube channel at Longshots Sportscast. I think we're the first thing that you pop up if you search that, so no problem there. We're also on SoundCloud, which is most likely where you've been hearing us up till now. So we're working on getting onto other platforms, slowly but surely, but I think right now with the audio and the way we're figuring it out, it's
still in the works.
It's better with what we're doing right now. But anyway, let's get into a little bit of current news. And, some of this is serious, some of this is just funny. I couldn't help but notice Rex Ryan saying, Amari Cooper is the biggest disappearing act in the National Football League, ... I wouldn't have paid this turd.
All right. Actually, I'm an Amari Cooper fan. I mean,
okay.
I think he's very talented, and I think they paid him accordingly. I don't think they paid him. I mean, maybe they paid him a little more, but I mean, the state of the Cowboys right now, I mean,
Right.
they need all they can get.
I mean, I think that him getting traded to Dallas and his time that he spent in Dallas, it's the best football he's played so far.
Oh,
no doubt about
absolutely.
it. I think we saw a guy with a lot of potential in Oakland.
Oh yeah, I had him on my fantasy team when he was in Oakland. And,
Yeah.
I mean, he was still, putting up numbers there, but I think you're right when you say in Dallas he's playing some good football.
He's definitely flourished under Dak Prescott. I think in Oakland with Derek Carr, I think this is kind of the joke. We were seeing a lot of drop passes. This guy was, I believe, a number 4 overall pick, if I recall correctly. I remember because the Raiders sucked for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I think at first he seemed like a bit of a letdown. He started really kind of climbing back up, though, around that season that he got traded for a first-round pick. And he maintained that status. I mean, I think the Cowboys definitely feel like they got their trade's worth on that one, as they should.
Yeah.
Whether he's worth $100 million, I think we're going to find out over the course of the next 5 seasons. But interesting take here by Mr. Rex Ryan. I don't seem to recall him having the greatest wide receiving core in New York. Maybe that's just me. I seem to remember him taking the bait on Santonio Holmes off of that Super Bowl catch and not really getting dick out of him.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's
I don't know.
let's talk about another signing. How about Alden Smith?
Yeah, we all thought that was a April Fool's joke.
Yeah,
I think most people did.
So for people who don't know who Alden Smith is, he was taken in the 2011 draft in the first round by the 49ers. He was part of that world-beating Niners defense under Harbaugh that went to that Super Bowl against the Ravens. He was teamed up with the likes of Justin Smith and Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis, just a bunch of world beaters on that pass rush that made life hell for many a quarterback. And he eventually got traded to the Raiders. He had some off the field issues. Got traded to the Raiders.
He had some legal issues.
He had some legal issues, and then he got in trouble for faking a bomb threat at an airport.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
Among other things, has not played a down of football in 4 years. Now, I mean, as far as modern day times, I mean, I think Justin Blackmon's got the record for most years, especially on a team without playing ball. I think he's still technically a Jaguar, but he hasn't been in the NFL in about 6 years. But Alden Smith, I think it's a shock to everybody that the Cowboys gave him a 1-year deal, but apparently he has changed his life. He's gotten clean and sober. I mean, this is a guy who was one of the most dominant pass rushers for a short period of time, but he's only 30 years old. And I look at some of these guys that get up there and over 30 and wonder how they're still playing. And I think for a guy who missed out on 4 years of making really good money, if he's in the best shape of his life, if he's clean and sober, he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's still, 30 as a pass rusher, I reckon you've probably got at least 3 to 5 years of great solid football still left in you. This could be a steal of a signing by the Cowboys.
He may have changed his life. Maybe he probably wasn't so coachable back then, but maybe
For sure.
He's got his good head on his shoulders now. Maybe they see something that we haven't.
Well, and this is a Cowboys team that's going to need help all the way around. They lost a lot of big players. On their defense, they lost good guys on that secondary. That Byron Jones, for example. They've got about 3 guys on that defense that are in a contract season. I don't think they retain them all. And you're in a situation where you're likely going to pay Dak Prescott $35 million a year. You can get I think if you get a guy who's
They
got
already
that,
paid him, right?
I don't know if they did or not.
I think they did, and I think it was $35 million that they came to an agreement because he was wanting like 40,
Right.
but I believe they did.
I
think it was $35 million.
No, he franchise tagged.
No. Yeah, they tagged him, but thought they came to a deal just recently.
He's under the exclusive franchise tag, in line to make $28.7 million. They're talking a $35 million deal.
Okay,
right now.
okay. So that was just the latest offer then.
But I think he's got to prove himself this year.
Well,
I mean, he would argue that he's been proving
yeah,
himself.
that's I think that's what he's going for right now.
With what?
Hey, I'm with you. I think he's a piece of shit. If I have to say it, I don't think he's worth that much.
No.
I say take the deal they give you, prove it. I mean, I just don't think he's worth more than that, and I think most people could agree.
We're in a weird situation where.
Sorry, I don't think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah,
I just don't think he's worth.
You really
what
dropped
he
the
wants.
hammer on him,
Yeah,
didn't you? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a Cowboys fan at all. I'm definitely not a Dak Prescott fan.
here's
Well,
the thing.
the Cowboys have not been short for talent, you know. So
Oh yeah. No.
if he's a $35 million quarterback doing $35 million quarterback things, where's the ring?
Right.
Right.
Well, and
What was
the
it last
ring
year that they
or
were
even
supposed
the,
to-
Even the deep run.
Yeah. Even a really really solid season. We really haven't seen. We've seen winning seasons, but
we're in a weird situation where the 5 quarterbacks that led the league in passing last year all missed the playoffs. Which because you had Jameis Winston saying, "Oh, you're gonna pay me what did he want? $30 million a year or something like that? You're gonna pay me $30 million a year." I threw 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. And it's
You know, he should have got Defensive Player of the Year for how many pick sixes he freaking threw.
It's like, yeah, you threw 30 picks as well, though, and your team.
Didn't he throw like 7 pick sixes last year?
I think something like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, your team didn't make the playoffs either, bud. And you've got, as Tom Brady, I'm sure, is about to show us this season, you've got the deepest set of weapons on that Tampa Bay offense. There's really no excuses for throwing 30 picks like that. I get that Bruce Arians runs that pass-heavy offense and quarterbacks have struggled, but there's a fine line, I'm sorry, not a fine line. There is a power gap between a guy like Tom Brady and a guy like Jameis Winston.
It's all good, dude. He got LASIK now. He can see.
And his
That was the
patience.
problem.
But I think Dak Prescott, he would argue he's proved himself, but again, your numbers did not get you to the playoffs last year.
That's what I was saying. They should have
In a
at
very
least,
weak division.
And
Yeah, they should have
let's
at
be
least made the
real.
playoffs. If you
Let's
don't
be
even
real.
talk.
They should have won that division
Yeah.
Oh,
hands
yeah.
down, no problem.
That division was really bad this last year. And normally I feel like normally you get at least, of course I'm speaking for like the last decade, there's at least 3 teams that kind of have it half turned up. Obviously the Giants are in a rebuild, the Redskins are in a seemingly perennial rebuild outside of like one playoff appearance per decade. I wish that wasn't the truth. But the Eagles and the Cowboys have been in an arms race. But I believe last year, I think the winner got into the playoffs at like 9-7 or something like that,
it was close,
which wasn't good.
But
But now you're in a situation where you're on a Cowboys team that didn't make the playoffs last year, and you've only really lost weapons. You've signed Amari Cooper.
kept him. He's already there. Yeah. But
Right, but you've lost Randall Cobb in free agency. You've got an emerging guy in Michael Gallup, and that's fine. And Zeke's still going to be there, but you're losing guys on that defense. Byron Jones is going to leave a big hole in the secondary, and the Cowboys are not exactly in line to draft a Jeff Okudah. I think he's way too far from them in the draft. They may wind up reaching on a prospect. They didn't bite on Xavier Rhodes in free agency, and we'll see how he does with the Colts on that end. Didn't land Chris Harris. So it's going to be an interesting deal to see where that Cowboys defense stacks up. Do they go hands-on on rebuilding? And also, you've lost a big piece of that offensive line with Travis Frederick retiring at 29.
yeah, that was huge.
He was a monster center for them. I remember that year, a lot of Cowboys fans, and I think Johnny Manziel himself thought that they were going to take Manziel, and they went with Travis Frederick. And I remember some people going, I think Bleacher Report gave it a D grade, and I thought, wow, really? I believe he's a center out of Wisconsin, and he tore it up and was a big piece on what for many years was the best offensive line in football.
Yep.
You had him. You had Zach Martin. I'm missing another Doug Free. You had another big piece on there that I can't think of off the top of my head. Tyrone Smith. I believe was his
Maybe
name.
you have to fact check that, but no, yeah, they had probably the best line out there by far for a while.
Yeah, Tyron Smith. It's, and then you gotta wonder how with that big offensive line did you not get deeper in the playoffs? So maybe some of that's on Dak, maybe some of that's on some of the other personnel. I think we're really, with having to get a new center, with having to draft and hopefully improve that defense young and fast, this is going to be a big year for Mr. Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I think he just takes the 35 mil, whatever they're offering him right now, and just run with it. Because I don't think you're getting any more, and I don't think you don't deserve any more. I mean, like we
You
all
don't
said.
even deserve that.
Well,
No,
28
what I'm saying.
point
The
seven
only one,
million.
the only one that thinks he actually deserves that is Skip Bayless.
Yeah, he's a ride or die. Cowboys, they're gonna take it all every year, right?
Oh,
No,
I wonder what he has to say about that.
probably
Sorry, I
saying
cut
pay
you
the
off.
man.
Good.
What were you saying?
No, it's just Skip.
Yeah,
With the
no,
Cowboys thing.
he's
He's delusional. He's almost as delusional as I am about the Seahawks.
Yeah.
There we go.
No,
I'll
yeah,
bring-
Skip Bayless. I don't know. He probably agrees with the Dak holding out and all that, but
Right.
I want to bring one thing up this week that really irked me. Major League Baseball came out and said if they don't play a season this year, that the Houston Astros suspension will be lifted because they served their suspension.
oh, that's a
That's a
crock
bunch of bullshit.
shit.
Yeah, I don't even watch baseball,
That's-
and
That's like no, that's not right.
Let's start off with Major League Baseball went soft on the Houston Astros. They
Oh.
cheated.
Oh yeah.
They
Look what
should've
happened.
stripped
Look,
of
look
everything.
what happened when Pete Rose cheated.
Yeah,
He's still fighting to get in the Hall.
yeah.
No, he
they-
might not get in the Hall before
Well-
he's dead.
And let's face it, by the time a lot of these Houston Astros players are potentially eligible for the Hall of Fame, most of the members on this this baseball committee are probably going to be dead.
Oh yeah, they're
Right.
all. It's tainted anyway. Like, you think people don't look at them now, and
Yeah.
you don't deserve
I
that.
don't know, that
How
was-
could you even be on that team and feel like you deserve that? Like,
I mean,
you guys cheated. Like,
I'm sorry, as a non-fan here, or at least somebody who's tried to kind of sit and watch baseball, I get bored. Skyler doesn't agree with me on this, and he's an actual fan, so take it for what you will. But I think baseball needs the steroids.
Yeah, dude.
I think
I
the,
mean-
Absolutely not.
I think the most interesting baseball has been in the mainstream eye in the last 30 years was McGuire and Sosa's chase for the home run record.
the only thing I could say about the steroid thing is like, yeah, it makes for interesting baseball for sure. But yeah, it does kind of, the guys who want to play by the rules, it kind of fucks.
Yeah, but you know what?
It does, because look, if Ken Griffey Jr. had taken steroids,
Yeah.
he'd no doubt be the home run king.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. I
No
mean,
doubt,
it's-
he wouldn't have struggled.
skews
He wouldn't have
everything.
struggled with the injuries he did.
Yeah, it just skews everything.
It
is what I'm
does.
saying.
Okay, but
This
I'm
doesn't
telling you-
you can't.
I miss the mongoloid monster athletes that walk out to a baseball diamond.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be fun. 'cause
Did you
it would
see
be.
what Barry Bonds looked like toward the end there, where his head seemed to be shrinking, but it was actually his body just getting bigger?
Yeah.
Like
Hey, look up,
I'm an animal.
look up Barry Bonds' rookie year and look at this guy.
Yeah.
He's no bigger than me.
Yeah. We're just saying so. Get your string bean.
And a lot of that's the human growth hormones. Like, I think Jose Canseco,
he was a mongoloid looking guy too. So there's him around
Yeah.
his rookie season.
Yeah.
I love that word, mongoloid.
Here's him like toward the end there.
Good
but
God.
That's a unit right there.
That's
Look at
He's taking the same shit Dana White's
Look at
taking.
his head. Look at his head though. It's like even his head is
Yeah.
like chonk, but then the body chonked out, so it doesn't even matter. Like
so Jose Canseco, when he came out of high school, was like 6'5", 100 or 6 foot, 180 pounds.
Yeah.
And he said when he started taking human growth hormones, the next year he showed up at spring training. He was like 6'3", 245.
Oh.
I found the picture. That's
At 18, 19 years old,
I mean,
this guy grew
I
3 inches.
I can see adding the weight, but how the hell do you get 3 more inches on the height?
Look at
Human
the
growth
hell.
hormone.
That shit'll make you grow.
Yes.
Like tall.
Yeah, Brady, you need
It's
to look
in the
into,
name.
You need to look into that, brother.
Fuck you, dude.
It's
I'm
in
like 5'11", 6 foot, right around teetering on 6 foot. I mean, I tell
Me too,
people
me
I'm
too.
6 foot, but it's more like 5'11".
I like that 5'11" because everybody likes an
Send me a
underdog.
link or something, dude.
5'11" and 3/4.
Yeah, yeah. That's what they
so-
told me in high school.
So I think I got to 5'10" and a half, and I remember my brother Skyler and I, who's now taller than me, and I think Nathan's actually taller than me too, my youngest brother.
No, they tell you in high school when you play football, the coaches they'll kind of buff your stats a little bit.
Well, it's
So I was convinced I was 6 foot.
we went into our well child checkup. It was my last one. I think I was like 16 or 17, and Skyler was 14 or 15. He would have been going almost into his freshman year of high school. They look at our growth chart, and my doctor goes, "Wow, Skyler, wow, you're probably gonna be 6'2", 6'3". How about that?" And Skyler's sitting there like, "All right." And then I said, "Hey,"
Getting ready to try out
What about
for the
me, Doc?
NBA.
I'm like, "Hey, what about me, Doc?" He goes, "Oh yeah, you're 5'10" and a half, and you're gonna stay that way." I was like, and just like manlets everywhere listening to this right now, we're just like,
No, my brother-in-law, he's legit. He's like 5'9", right? He's like maybe probably 5'8". He was telling everybody in middle school that, I'm gonna have a big old growth spurt. I'm gonna be 6'4", and this motherfucker never grew.
I found,
I swear, to this day, he's the same size.
I found that,
But he was the big kid in middle school.
I found that the people that were like big in or tall in middle school, they almost seemingly hit their growth spurt early.
Yeah,
Cause,
they peaked.
do you remember how tall Kim Bond was in middle school?
Yeah.
And then by high school, we all kind of all caught up.
Yeah.
And because I remember she was the tallest kid in the class by far for about 3 years running, and then as soon as high school happened and all of us guys hit puberty, it was like, "Hey, what's up?" Very interesting as far as the growth on stuff like that. I just think maybe we need to just regulate it. So every team gets one steroid guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get one guy.
I think
you get
that's
the
fair.
juice.
So-
I think every team gets one steroid guy. He gets half the at bats as everybody else.
You know, there's one on every team probably.
You get at least one guaranteed homer. You send the fans home happy. I want to meet the team that makes the steroid guy their pitcher, and he's just sitting there, just
McGuire.
He's just sitting there, poor.
It's funny, McGuire. There was a fight a couple years ago between the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers,
Oh yeah.
and all of a sudden you just see him and Matt Williams, who is a freak, huge dude, anyways, trying to hold roid raging Mark McGuire at 50 years old back.
Good luck, buddy.
It was epic.
And he's a
McGuire was going.
He's
off.
a ginger too, so
Yeah.
he's got that built-in rage. It's like Bill Burr said. He makes a joke about. I thought being a roofer. I thought being a roofer as a redhead in the middle of summer was the hardest job ever. Like, that they made him roof at least one summer as a kid, and he's just got that built-in rage that just sat and marinated for about 30 years until he just wanted to just unleash it. Like,
Feel bad for the guy. He had to. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I just think you give him one steroid guy, you give him half the number of at bats, and I might actually turn on a baseball game. That's it. That's my free.
Bring
I
back
love
the
that.
good old days.
Hey, I tell you what, if we get a season going, we're all gonna have to go up to a game though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If we get a season going.
Baseball strikes me as, and it's always struck me as one of those sports. It's way more fun to be there and be at this event than it is to watch on TV.
It's even more fun to just play it than
right.
watch it. I mean, I think that's every sport, but yeah, no baseball. I like watching it every now and then if it's my team, but still,
Yeah.
it's only for
Who is your team?
the Mariners.
Okay.
Of course. We still haven't done it yet, but every year this is the year, right?
Hey, you still got the regular season
we
record.
still hold on to the Dave Niehaus call of a double in '95.
Yeah.
So, real quick before we get into our favorite players, I just want to give a shout out to my boy, Derwin James, Los Angeles Chargers safety, for winning the NFL Players Madden Tournament championship against Tyreek Hill. Beat him 52-3.
Wow. He sunned him.
As a blowout.
52-3.
Nice.
Just destroyed him. He was like he was playing a 5.5-year-old. And what was great is he on the way he just murked on everybody. He played against he even played a game against Michael Vick. They live streamed it. Beat him 80-16.
Well, I mean, if he beat the dude in the finals 50-3, I can only imagine who else he just.
He beat Vic 80-16. He beat Deshaun Jackson 50-27 or something like that.
They're starting a 2K tournament now too. It's coming up. I can't remember when it is, but a bunch of NBA.
He had to beat his brother too. He had to beat Keenan Allen.
I
think they're actually gonna play it on ESPN and shit.
There's a 2K tournament going on right now.
Yeah,
too, with NBA players.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah. I don't know when it is. Probably this weekend or something.
It's right now. It's going on.
Oh, and because I have to give my weekly WrestleMania update as the wrestling fan here. WrestleMania is this Saturday and Sunday. It was too big
this
for
is what you were
one
talking
night.
to me about, yeah.
Or too shit for one night, depending on who you ask. Because this sounds like it's going to be bad on paper, but they might just go for the most feel-good card possible. I think that's what the world needs right now. Is just we just need to not have Brock Lesnar as champion. No, honestly, it's gonna be interesting. I'm morbidly curious, so I am gonna watch the first night because they're doing it with no fans. They're doing it at the Performance Center. Roman Reigns, who was one of their big guys, is off the show, as I talked to that last week. 2 of their matches aren't even being filmed in rings. They're being filmed in gimmick or areas. One of them, Undertaker, who's old, is coming back for a match with AJ Styles.
He's still around?
They're going to do it in a, quote, boneyard. And I think the reason why they're not calling it a graveyard match is because people are freaking dying right now.
Yeah. Too soon?
Too soon is right. And then the other one, John Cena's coming back for a match. He's taking on The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. They're doing some kind of, they call it a Firefly Funhouse match because The Fiend's character is that he switches on and off. So his normalcy is that he is like a Pee-wee's Playhouse sort of kid show host. And he calls all of the little kids his little fireflies, and he has like a.
I thought they were gonna wrestle at an Owl City concert.
No.
That's exactly what I thought of when I heard Firefly.
But for real, he sits there and he's just like, "Hey, what's going on, my little fireflies? How's it going?" And he comes out with like a Mr. Rogers sweater, and he's got his dreads all tied back, and he's still got his beard, and he always says like he's got his puppets that have voices that talk to him and stuff, and he always says. Yowie wowie when like stuff it's so weird, but then
that's bizarre.
He flips to this crazy this fiend, this demon persona. They had a horror movie director make a mask for him that looks all fucked up. In fact, I can show you.
It's like a Jekyll and Hyde type thing.
Yeah. It sounds like a schizo.
And the fiend like doesn't talk. So this is
beats ass, huh?
This is the Fiend with like in his mask and everything.
Oh, okay.
And then this is like that's the normal Bray Wyatt, where he's like
it's like he turns into like freaking clock strikes midnight. He's a werewolf.
He's got like a cartoon, but the Firefly Funhouse is like his cartoon show. So supposedly, him and John Cena are gonna fight in the Firefly Funhouse. And I'm not going to lie, I think if there's anybody that can sell the absurdity of that match, it's going to be Cena. I think at this point, Cena's like, I've done everything I can do. put me in this stupid match and let's just have a fun time. Like Cena's like I've got dad hair now. Like we just let's wrap this thing up. Let's go. I'm hosting kid game shows now. Like let's do this.
Yeah.
So I mean it's gonna be a mess.
Movie about being the tooth fairy just around the corner.
Right. And it's gonna be a mess. I have trash brain, so I'm gonna watch it anyway. But I have to give the weekly update because I think it's funny. So, with that being said and out of the way, we're going to move on to our favorite NFL players, which is a fun topic. It's one, and he's opening a beer with his teeth, ladies and gentlemen. As we heard on the show last week, that's just going to become the thing. I'll get used to it one day. So
I will not.
So, all right.
We're gonna
one of these days, the tooth's just gonna come out with the bottle cap. But until then,
I hope we got live feed when that happens.
Eventually, oh my gosh, yeah. We're like right as the draft starts.
Hey man, I just don't want to disrupt. I don't want to go out there
and open a bottle. Yeah, no,
I mean, bring a bottle opener with you.
I respect
got it right
it.
here, dude.
I respect the respect to the craft. He's gonna get like metal teeth, like Jaws from James Bond.
Yeah.
Like, so the thing is, with the favorite players, I just think it's kind of a fun topic. Eventually, when we get basketball back or we get out of the draft, maybe, we're going to do similar uniform and favorite player topics in basketball. I think that's going to be, especially on the uniform end, I think it's going to be a lot more interesting. I think we're going to do a two-parter for that one, do 10 best and 10 worst. So, get hyped for that in a couple months, maybe sooner if we run out of things to talk about. Favorite players, I think what I want to do is do it by group. And we can do, QBs, running backs, receivers / tight ends. If you got a special O lineman in your heart, you can bring him up in that. And then we'll do defensive players, secondary, and specialists, and just kind of run through it like that. We're talking. I mean, obviously, I've got 3 Seahawks fans here, and I mean, I'm the biggest Chargers fan in the Pacific Northwest. So you're gonna expect to see Chargers players listed here, Seahawks players listed here. However, there's a lot of us that admire players from other teams. Maybe guys that we wished would have been on our team, or guys that were just fun to watch in general that we knew we'd have fun time facing down, or guys that maybe we didn't ever want to face down growing up or even now. So I'll kick things off quarterback-wise. You guys know my all-time favorite quarterback is the man himself, Phillip Rivers. The bolo tie wearing, 10 kid having, son of Uncrustables eating son of a gun. Phillip Rivers is hilarious, for one. He doesn't swear. So despite him, and you guys aren't even going to believe that.
He is a trash talker.
He is a trash talker. He is one of the most fired up individuals to set foot on a football field.
I honestly love it.
He's so hilarious. I remember him and Jay Cutler shit talking back and forth, and used to get really into it. Which it's hard to get Jay Cutler into anything really. Like even I went back, I watched the highlights of the 2006 NFL draft last night, and even at his combine, like as a young kid, Jay Cutler's just like, how's it going? And then they're like measuring his arm span, and he's
Not
like
impressed.
Running his 40, and he just doesn't care. Like that's why I love those pictures of them photoshopping a cigarette in his mouth, which has become like one of my favorite NFL.
I don't know how
movies,
people
honestly.
do that. When I play sports, I'm into it.
And it's everything. It's every picture. You can put a cigarette in his mouth, and it makes the most sense.
I love it.
Every one of them. There's one with like the referee where he like accidentally waves and knocks the. I like that one, where the referee knocks knocks his football off his head,
Who cares?
and it like knocks a cigarette out of his mouth or something. Like, it. We need more stuff. Like we need more smoking Jay Cutler. I want more memes like this, you know.
I
But
see those in the NBA a lot now.
and actually, I want to look up while we're on the topic. One of you guys want to give one of your quarterbacks? Because I'll circle back. I got a guy I want to talk about later. But
I guess I'll go next. For me, I would say probably my all-time favorite quarterback, Brett Favre. I loved watching that guy.
oh yeah, man, Brett Favre is great.
I mean, one of the reasons he was my favorite because it was Green Bay is my dad's favorite team. You know, and he introduced me to sports and everything. But I mean, we would always watch, Brett Favre on Sunday night. I mean, the dude was just incredible. What is this?
That was I'm just playing highlights of him.
Oh, okay. No, he was a gunslinger, man. I mean, talk about somebody who could chuck a ball, and that was him. And he's went to retirement, came out of retirement, switched teams. So he was just really fun to watch.
Well, and I mean, and we're watching here on these highlights. I mean, no matter his age, he was really good at just staying alive. Keeping something going. That first play, he had a play batted right in his face, and he went and picked it up. And,
he had like over 500 touchdowns,
That's
70,000 passing yards.
That's a key to longevity as a quarterback.
Hey, that's on my
sure.
team.
For sure.
I didn't like that one bit.
Isn't that the worst? You're watching some highlight reels.
Well, there was a Seattle
Your
one.
team just gets blown the fuck up.
Yeah, it's so bad. We used to joke.
It's the worst.
We used to have an NFL trivia DVD game that we used to watch with my dad and play with my dad, and he goes, yeah, I love how no matter who the question's about, Randy Moss, McNabb, Marvin Harrison, they always got to show a clip of them burning the fucking Redskins.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a video on YouTube somewhere of the skills challenge back in the day.
Yeah, I've watched
where
a couple of
he
those.
hucks that son of a bitch.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's just straight up gunslinger. See Brett Favre picture in the dictionary. I mean, this dude, he had an arm.
He sure did. And even stuff like that, where he's getting tackled and on the way down, I'm going to pitch it to a guy who's just right in front of me.
He was one of those guys, go till the whistle.
Absolutely.
Always made something happen out of nothing.
And just
keeping the play alive.
Beautiful
keeping
throws.
the play alive, exactly.
This is a guy who was drafted in 91 by the Atlanta Falcons by Coach Jerry Glanville, who didn't really even want him.
Nope.
Didn't see anything in him. And they shipped him to the Packers for, I believe, like a second-round pick. And he turned out to be, I mean,
he's one of the greatest to ever play the game.
One of the greatest to ever play the game. He held all the passing records by the time he retired. Those have since been broken by Manning, Brady, and Breeze. But man, he's got a Super Bowl ring to his credit, and I believe he went to 2.
And he won one in 97.
That's right. Won in 97, lost to Elway, finally getting his in 98.
Yep.
But he's had some fantastic years. He could have probably at least been in the running to get one as a Viking in the twilight of his career, but you had a too many men on the field penalty that cost them everything against the Saints. And of course, the Saints would go on to beat Manning's Colts in Super Bowl 44.
So, could have been, but
overall, a wonderful quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful career.
Speaking of Green Bay quarterbacks,
I hear I hear he's gonna play again. I hear he's.
I heard he's coming out of retirement. He's gonna go play for the Patriots.
Yeah, that's shit.
The guy did say that if he could guarantee to not get hit, he would play.
You can't fucking guarantee that shit for nothing.
I remember when the Minneapolis when that dome caved in with all the snow.
Yes.
They had to go play in like some other college stadium or something where the turf was frozen as hell, and he got sacked, just like knocked almost out of his shoes that game, and I thought I watched a murder.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow, what the hell just happened there?
You got stripped.
Talk about fucking showboat.
Kind of a shame that they're not showing any of these in a Packers jersey or a Vikings jersey, but he did spend so many years with the Packers.
A lot of his legacy and a lot of what I grew up watching was him in the Packers jersey.
Yeah, for sure.
Him for.
There's an old concussion running back on the field.
Yeah, what is this, like 1997?
That's why it's like a lot of Seahawks fans, they like hate the Packers,
Oh, hey, here's a Jets
I don't hate
highlight.
the Packers. I always had a little love for them.
Oh, I forgot he went to the Jets.
Yeah, one
I always
cup,
like to beat 'em,
a
though.
cup of coffee over in New York. What a weird year.
That's right. Yeah.
That was the year that Brady was out, so the NFC East was anybody's game. It was the Chad Pennington Dolphins and the Brett Favre Jets.
Mm-hmm.
What a weird season that we'll never get back. That was also the year that Peyton Manning threw 4 interceptions in the AFC wildcard game to us Chargers. So I just want to bring that up. So Skyler, let's hear a quarterback from this guy right over here.
I gotta go Joe Montana.
Okay.
Let's
I
pull
know
up
that's
some
fucking bizarre
tape.
coming from a Seahawks fan.
I mean,
Well,
gotta
when I
respect
grew up-
game here.
When I grew up, we were watching Joe Montana. My dad was a Niners, and this was when it was okay to be a Niners fan and a Seahawks fan. My grandma was.
When was that ever okay?
When they were in different
Well-
AFC, NFC.
And for these young fans who don't know, in the 80s, Joe Montana was the guy.
Yeah.
He was Joe Cool. Like, he could do no wrong. There was hardly a quarterback even close to what he was doing at the time. I mean, and he had Jerry Rice at his disposal too.
Yep.
But that doesn't take anything away from what a dominant force this guy was out on the field every time. 4-0 in Super Bowls. Under a legendary Bill Walsh coached team. And this was a guy that was taken in the 3rd round. I believe, yeah, 3rd round of that 79 draft.
And that goes back to something we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Was that first round pressure? It seems like guys that in the first round they fizzle.
Right. Well, and
Extremely high expectations.
oh, for real. Who's that? Oh, is that you?
Not me.
I think it might have been.
The phone's in your
You
face.
I was just hearing it in the head.
It's Brady. Oh man, my girlfriend's pissed.
Yeah.
So yeah, God. I mean, what more can you say about Joe Montana? Really? I mean, even in his final years as a Chief, which don't get mentioned often. I mean, he still was taking them to the playoffs. He didn't win one with the Chiefs.
Look
but
at those helmets. Those look like the most unsafe.
was this when people? You had some players still wearing single bar and all this other stuff, face masks, which you cannot get away with anymore.
Hell no.
I think even Montana's only got like a 2-bar or something like that. Yeah.
No, I mean, he's gonna punch someone in the face at that point.
Yeah, they could get away with a lot more on
Oh,
that
yeah.
defense, but you notice number 87 is taking a lot of those catches. Dwight Clark was an incredible receiver, underrated in the sense that you got Jerry Rice on the other side, but Dwight Clark's got the catch, and he'll always have the catch. So with that, Jace, what do we got for your QB?
Well, I appreciate my fellow Seahawks fans throwing me a softball here. I definitely got to go with Russell Wilson.
Oh.
All right, yeah, who doesn't love Russell Wilson highlights? Arguably,
In Russ we trust.
That's right.
Amen.
arguably the most beautiful deep ball in the NFL right now.
Absolutely, and it's crazy how he's evolved. With his age. A lot of mobile quarterbacks don't age particularly well. But, he had that one season where he had a few injuries. I think he had like a pectoral and his leg brace. He was basically locked down. He couldn't move very well.
So
he just evolved. He just started throwing goddamn laser beams. And these huge arcing downfield bombs that Tyler Lockett, he just had magnets in his gloves.
Oh, yeah.
I read an interesting stat before we got started. 23 players played every offensive down this year.
Wow.
22 of them were offensive linemen. The other one was Russell Wilson.
Yeah. That's the other thing I was going to bring up. This man has never missed a snap.
No.
He has never missed a snap.
Nope.
Starting for the Seahawks.
Well, and you want to talk about, like we said with the Favre stuff. I mean, he and I think I can. looks like we're recording. Let me turn the TV on. And maybe I shouldn't have started again. So, for those of you who were wondering what the hell just happened, we were interrupted on a transmission frequency. We got encountered by a time traveling wizard. I'm still a little woozy from the time tunnel. We were pulled in to take care of something to help save this generation from the Rona, and we actually lost Jace. The poor man. He saved us all.
Yeah.
Is what he did, and I'll never forget. I can't believe it. Can you?
No, it was crazy.
Rest in peace. It's a damn shame, but
Rest in power.
Rest in power. Rest in peace. No.
It's for the greater good. We were just getting on to something too.
So, Jace was bringing up Russell Wilson, and before we got sucked into doing that Time Wizards business, he was on to something really good about Russell Wilson. Obviously, he's just one of the most dynamic players in today's NFL, a true leader, really, and somebody that makes every bit of his team better.
On and off the field.
Exactly.
I mean, he's just a all-around good guy. Deep ball, like Jace was touching on that. When he went through those injuries, pectoral, and I think he had like an ankle injury, he had to adapt. And the way he did that was just throwing these bombs, these dimes, way downfield. So, I mean, if we're talking about greatest quarterbacks, I think Russell Wilson is definitely in the conversation.
Absolutely.
I don't think he'll ever have the big numbers, the Drew Brees, the Tom Brady numbers, but
maybe not.
His body of work.
Look at his rushing yards too. I mean,
Which
there was what was it? It wasn't last season. Was it last season or was it the season before where he had? It was like almost towards the end of the season. He had more rushing yards than any of the running backs did. He does more than just what a quarterback is expected or what they should do.
You had me thinking you were like, okay, hold on a minute. I look over at, because I'm looking at you, you're on your mic. I look over at Skyler just to see where his mic gap is. And I've got the headphones on and he's mouthing to me almost like he's talking. And for some reason, my trash brain actually thought that maybe a human being was on mute. And I thought, wait a minute, is your mic muted? But then I'm like, well, no, because I could hear, I'm sitting like 6 feet away from you. And
I was wondering what was that about?
That we're recording.
Is it because
it's not moving?
It's not moving right there.
It is slowly.
It's just not. Oh, okay. So it's
okay.
Something changed then.
It's just but
whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal.
It's a recovered project.
Yeah.
It's just because it's in. I don't know what it's doing, honestly.
It's in limbo.
It's going by like 15-minute increments.
Which is fine.
Rather than like the real time by the second that it was at before.
We can all hear one another now, so we can we don't even need to look at that.
No, I'm not muted.
Right. Yeah, and whatever I did there just made that.
Russell Wilson, he will go down, I believe, as a Hall of Famer. I know it's early to say that, but it's real early to say that. But I feel like this guy, he's got all the tricks. He's got everything at his exposure. He is a deadly weapon. I feel like any team in the NFL would be lucky to have Russell Wilson as their quarterback. Not only is he just so athletic, and he got a great head on his shoulders. I mean, he's just all around good guy. I mean, on and off the field. Can't express that enough.
And he's got the Super Bowl win under his belt.
Got that.
And even his mightiest of detractors saying, well, that was Legion of Boom Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I mean, he's still made the playoffs. Every year since?
Every year since.
1 year.
Look what they did last year.
We missed one.
Oh, you missed one.
We missed one.
Okay, yeah, there was one.
So he's missed it, but that's one miss in his entire career.
And me as a Seahawks fan, telling you this. Last year I had no expectations whatsoever
None.
of the Seahawks even touching the playoffs, and look where they went. I mean, they were one game away from going to that title.
And I reckon they were a running back.
You can say what you want, but I feel like they deserve to be there, and I feel like we would have gave them a better show than the opposing team who went there.
And I reckon they were a running back away from being in that title game. I think losing Carson and Penny both really added a lot more pressure on Wilson than could have been asked of any other quarterback in the playoffs.
He does it every time. I mean, he steps it up when he carries the offense more times than not. He's got a couple weapons out there, sure, but I think he does a lot of the work on offense, and he gets them going too. He gets these guys motivated.
You know what I appreciate the most is we could be down 40-0 with 3 minutes left, and he is. Let's go.
Still talking that talk.
We can win this, guys.
Still optimistic. Exactly about it's not over.
You can't teach that drive.
No.
That we can win.
It's so easy to give up, and mentally, you know what I mean. And you feed off that as you know, another player on the team. You know, your quarterback, he's supposed to be your leader.
It's a mentality
so you feed off of that, and we've seen it time and time again where we've came back from improbable odds of unfortunate events, and we bounce back, and I feel like a lot of it does have to do with Russell Wilson and his character and how he poises himself, and these guys follow suit.
Well,
absolutely.
And I'll tell you from a modern day phenom to a phenom of yesteryear, I kind of want to talk on an older player who I have found via NFL countdowns and archive footage. My dad being a big Redskins fan, and a guy that I can't speak enough good on as far as how cool he was, and that's Sonny Jurgensen.
Okay.
This dude he played 18 seasons he took over for Norm Van Brocklin, the legendary Norm Van Brocklin in the Philadelphia Eagles.
The old school.
Yeah, but then he went on to go play for the Washington Redskins. He's actually coached. That was a behind the back pass for those that didn't that can't see that, but this guy, one of the most accurate quarterbacks, if not the most accurate quarterback of his era, finished with 32,000 yards, which for his time was crazy. Led the league in passing several times, including records of 3,700 and 3,800 yards respectively in seasons with Washington, and did it all with just with style. Just this guy, even watching old grainy footage from the 50s and 60s. This guy oozes coolness. He is remarkably similar to Russell Wilson to me in the fact that on a deep ball, he can thread a needle and find a guy, and he keeps a play alive. And just spectacular stuff here. But even on his other, he had detractors in the sense that people were saying, "Oh, his throwing motion's bad." He clashed with his head coach, George Allen, in the latter part of his career, who was benching him for Billy Kilmer. But I think he put it. He said, "Yeah, I throw passes behind my back. I'm 2 for 3 left-handed. You know, what do you care how it looks if I get it to where it needs to be?" Like that. This guy's still at 85 years old.
Well, this was back in that era, too.
Absolutely. I mean, this guy...
Coaches didn't like that kind of, showboating, if you will. You would get benched for something like that.
But I'll tell you what, you go to the 70s, I mean, you had a lot of cool quarterbacks. Like, this was a 60s, 70s, quarterbacks were like, I don't know, they were like movie stars. Yeah. I mean, you had guys like Sonny Jurgensen, you had Joe Namath, Broadway Joe. Most people know him more as Broadway Joe than Joe Namath. Yeah. Ken the Snake Stabler, running around looking like Obi-Wan Kenobi in a fur coat and just getting shit-faced the night before a big game and then coming out and dicing up opponents. And that's about the nicest I'm going to talk about a Raider on this podcast. But Sonny Jurgensen, I mean, behind the back pass, if you need one play that needs to tell you everything you need to know about how cool this dude is, just look at this guy throw a behind the back pass in full pads
in a game and get a first down off of that. Who's doing that right now? Nobody.
Nobody.
Who can do that right now? I want to see Pat Mahomes throw behind the back pass.
Wait a minute. Didn't somebody just throw a behind the back pass?
Frankly speaking,
last year.
Frankly speaking, I don't care. I don't care. This is going to deflate my point. The dude's the coolest. And I just think that in today's era where it is a passing league and we're talking about the newest and the biggest and the best quarterbacks and Pat Mahomes is God and blah, blah, go back to this dude throwing, ending his career at 32,000 yards when that was not the easy thing to do. It's something else. And I think he's one of those players that kind of gets forgotten with time, and I don't think he should. I mean, it's not like the Redskins have had a long line of amazing quarterbacks. They've had good ones that didn't play as long as they should have, your Theismans, your Mark Rippons, but they really don't have a long line of great ones, and I think Jurgensen remains the best quarterback they've ever had. So, moving on, do you guys have any more quarterbacks you wanted to talk to, or are we down to get on to running backs?
I mean, we could talk about quarterbacks all day, but I think...
yeah, we can go to running backs.
We can go to running backs for sure.
Well, we know mine. I'm not going to do it yet. So if one of you guys wants to hit me with a running back, let's throw him in.
Okay, I'll hit you with my running back. I hate this whole all-time discussion, but what I will say is one of my favorite running backs that I've seen play the most that I've cheered on, obviously, is Marshawn Lynch.
Absolutely.
Beast mode.
Beast mode.
You had to know.
I mean, he did a whole lot for the culture of Seattle and everything they're about. Dude was remarkable. I mean, just a power runner.
I mean, how many other quarterbacks have caused earthquakes?
Right. I mean,
hands down.
This dude was a brick house. I mean, he would run through anything, and not even that. He had the moves. He had the jukes. He would fake you out. He did a lot. I think everybody, if you're a Seahawks fan, or even if you watched a lot of those games where Seattle was going on their tenure of just showing up every year. Mm-hmm. There were some big runs from Marshawn. It was almost like it wasn't human.
Well, here's him.
See some of the things that he's done.
Here's him throwing a passing TD in those ugly Bills uniforms.
Yeah. When he was drafted as a Bill. This dude, he was just such a different breed. I mean, he came from not a lot, right? So he had a lot to prove.
That's another thing, is how really humble the dude is.
Oh yeah, 100%, right?
And who can forget those great Super Bowl?
Oh yeah,
interviews. I'm just
thankful.
Here so I don't get fined.
I'm here so I don't get fined. I'm thankful.
He's gonna be remembered. I mean, as dynamic a player as he was off the field, on the field, he'll be remembered just as much for who he was off the field.
Right, and people can say things like, "Oh, he's a thug." No.
He's not.
Maybe he was. Maybe he was at one point in his life, but since he's been playing football, I think he's been doing everything right, on and off the field. And he came out of retirement this year to help the Hawks in the playoffs. And that was great. And he got a touchdown in there. Like, I was so happy to see that as a Seahawks fan.
I think he got 3, didn't he?
Yeah, he got more than one. Seeing that first one, it was just crazy. Seattle went crazy.
I was jacked up. I'm pretty sure we were at
crazy.
Work. We were at work.
Yeah, we were at work.
I think I don't wear my jersey to work ever. And when Beast Mode came back for that first game, I had that jersey on. It was on.
He has definitely put his stamp down in Seattle.
For sure. Well,
everybody
from the minute he did this Beast Quake, I watched that when it happened.
Beast Quake, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Against the Saints?
Yeah. Yeah. And just
shoving him off, right?
Shoving him off him. And, just get off of me.
And then he goes, hold these. Yeah.
This was a 7-9 Seahawks team that had struggled all year, but they happened to get by on the fact that that whole division was ass. So here's a team that's going up in the wild card round against a Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints.
And this dude from Cali, dude from Cal State just comes out and is just like, hey.
Everybody and their brother is saying, oh, hey, bring him in, boys. Easy win. And Marshawn Lynch...
All I can say is,
completely dominated
Marshawn, we love you. You know, we wish the best for you. Thank you for all your years in Seattle. You did great.
I mean, this guy tore up everybody. And remember, he came in that same draft. Him and Adrian Peterson both got taken in that first round. Both those guys.
And actually, if I were to say another running back, Adrian Peterson would have been my second.
AP was a
I
fantastic
think
player.
I think my pick's gonna shock Mike a little bit.
Yeah, please go for it, man.
I'm gonna have to say LT.
I was just gonna say him. Yeah.
I mean,
Why would that shock anybody?
He
was a great running back, probably one of the best ever.
That gives me room
I think I
to.
kind of stole Mike's pick.
No, that's fine because
I know.
there was another Chargers player I'll mention in the show a little bit, and that I'll bring up later. But
Yeah, LaDainian Tomlinson. This is my favorite player of all time.
All-time player.
Till I die. This is my all-time favorite player. I've got his old Navy jersey with the white bolts that I wear. I've got his powder blue jersey signed in a shadow box that's in my living room. I've got I had him on a light switch cover when I was a kid. I had a LaDainian Tomlinson light switch cover. I've got several of his cards. He was, for a kid like me who middle school's about when, like late elementary school and middle school is about when everybody starts to figure out that they're into sports and really talking sports. And for me, I'm the only Chargers fan. First of all, I had to move schools again, and I moved schools a lot when I was a little kid. I had to move schools again, this time to middle school, so all my elementary school friends are gone. And here's 3 elementary schools worth of kids that I don't know. And all the sports nuts are Seahawks fans. Mm-hmm. And here I am, the one Chargers fan, getting picked on for it, and everybody and their brother. Oh,
yeah, I would have probably picked on you.
Probably. I mean, and everybody and their brother. Sean Alexander's better.
Yeah.
He'll never be like Sean Alexander because Alexander had just had that MVP.
No, I will say though, I did have respect for LT even as a Seahawks fan.
Absolutely.
He had that 27 TD season, and then the year after, LT hit him with 28 and broke the record and still has the record. And for me as a Chargers fan, I'm sitting there at sixth grade. Mm-hmm. First of all, 2 things in that season, and one might sting a little bit. But that year when we beat you guys in the regular season, I'm sitting there like... Then when he broke the record against Denver, who I can't stand, again, you know, that was that 14-2 season. But again, you know, we had to kind of run through Bill Belichick, and actually Marlon McCree killed us on that one. But
it's funny you bring up the middle school thing because at my middle school... over here, we were the Skyhawks over there at Mount Solo.
That's right.
I had like 3 friends who were diehard Chargers fans.
Oh, there you go.
They all had like LT jerseys, and like LT was like their guy, and like I was even behind that. Like I loved because I was a running back, and I played running back all year, like since I started playing football. Till high school, and that was about when I stopped. But
everything about him,
dude, was just so quick, nimble.
Cool.
He was just a stud.
The dark face mask,
the
all
face
the time,
not
the visor,
on him.
yeah.
Number 21. I mean, come on, that's it, and he just lit up everybody everywhere he went. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
All you heard was LT.
Like
that's all you heard.
And how often do you get it where you had a guy in the 80s, Lawrence Taylor? He was LT for like 15 years.
Right.
How often do you get it where another guy can take that same initials and
you know who they're talking about
just as much.
Yeah, just as much, exactly.
Although according to Lawrence Taylor, Tomlinson's golf game sucks, but no, I mean
at least he could run the ball.
I mean, what more can you say? It's a shame he never got the Super Bowl ring. It's a shame that we had to play the Patriots every damn year in the playoffs. Because I always say it, and I'm gonna keep saying it. If we could just have beat them once and lined up against the Colts in the playoffs, we'd have gotten a ring or 2. But it just never happened.
If football was anything like basketball, he would have got that ring.
But just a fantastic player, and you never heard about him in the news or anything. He never got into trouble. He just he just kept his nose down and he played, and it broke my heart.
Kind of like that Russell Wilson. He's a good guy on and off the field.
Yeah, what's the most you ever saw him outside of football? He was in a Campbell's Chunky commercial.
Or he'd be running a youth football camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it broke my heart to see him go to New York, although I would have loved it if he'd won a Super Bowl with them,
I think
just so he could get that ring. It didn't happen there.
It was just a downhill from him after
I mean, he did have another 1,000-yard season with New York, and then after that it was
But I mean,
but for real, I saw the writing on the wall, and when you went to that 2009 playoffs with Darren Sproles taking all the snaps, we kind of knew what was happening there. But
mistake.
LT was fantastic, and I do want to bring up, because you took mine, another Chargers running back who I think gets forgotten.
Melvin Gordon.
No, I'm talking about Natron Means.
Okay.
This is the '90s Chargers running back. He was running for us when we went to that Super Bowl against the Niners, where Steve Young flayed us. But this guy,
Steve Young,
he had some real grit.
What I like about Natron Means is that he's a big boy. He is a power back, very much like Jerome Bettis, but you see him, I mean, he busts through those tackles, and at the very minimum, he gets to the secondary. If he doesn't run away with everything, because he's a heavier guy, but at the minimum, he gets to the secondary and he makes a play. And just a fun dude to watch. I remember I got his card, I had a friend who had a bunch of old sports cards, gave me his card, and I didn't know who he was. And I went and immediately looked him up and just had a lot of fun watching this guy. Because people forget, the first half of the 90s, that was like Sal's Chargers, and they were a fun team to watch. But the latter half of the 90s, which by that time means had actually gone to the Jaguars, and the Jaguars had actually become the Jaguars had actually gone to the AFC title game in that on their own with him. But the 90s are not known as a period of a lot of happiness for Chargers fans, but I mean, aside from some of the players on that defense, your Rodney Harrisons and your Junior Seaus, if you want to look at that offense, a blink and you'll miss it tenure of Stan Humphries and Natron Means is still just some really fun football. And again, he's just a guy that I think kind of gets forgotten because he was succeeded by, the greatest in our franchise history and one of the best ever to do it.
I tell you another one that was fun to watch, Marshall Faulk.
Oh yeah, how can you not mention Marshall Faulk? You mean the greatest show on turf, and they got him from the Colts. He started out with the Colts, and I mean, could you imagine if they kept him, and then he went to? Can you imagine like a Peyton Manning, Marshall Faulk offense? Just wouldn't like. But no, he came into his own when he became a Ram. That's for sure. I remember him being on a Madden cover when I was a kid, and I wasn't even really into football, and just seeing him on there, and I knew that told me right there. If I was a kid when I wasn't watching football and I heard his name in a commercial, or if I saw him on the cover of a sports game, that told me that's a good player. That's an awesome player right there. And he tore it up. Just every time. I mean, it's not often you get a team with 3 amazing wide receivers and an MVP quarterback, and the running back still does enough to stick out on his own. Yeah, Falk is fantastic. Who else we got? Who else we want to talk about running back wise?
I mean, there's so again, we could go on running backs for.
Then why the heck not? Why don't we move to wide receivers then?
We're receivers?
And I'm actually not going to go with a Charger wide receiver. I could talk about Keenan Allen all day, but
I'm going to go ahead and start. And
hey, go ahead.
Again, another Niner, but Jerry Rice.
Well, you can't go wrong with Jerry Rice. Dude was
sounding like not very much of a Seahawk fan right now.
Hey, he ended his career in Seattle.
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
But the Jerry Rice we all know and love.
But game respects game, and dude had game.
That dude played so long, and he didn't decline really until about the time he was ready to hang him up. I mean, even this guy was a phenom in the 80s, and yet in 2002 he's the best receiver on an Oakland Raiders team that got to a Super Bowl. Like, just a dynamic player who stayed good for so long. I mean, he was on a Niners squad that had T.O., a young T.O. Think about that for a minute. You had T.O. and Jerry Rice on the same team. And you had Steve Young as your quarterback for a cup of coffee, and then it was Jeff Garcia. And I think if Steve Young hadn't had to retire when he did, I think that Niners team could have really done some damage in the late 90s. Just a fantastic player. Jerry Rice was a model citizen on and off the field as well, and I think you're going to find that that's a reoccurring theme for most of this list. Or not list, but most of this episode is just guys who were fun to watch, but also just fun to hear what great people they were. And you always hear nothing but nice stuff about Jerry Rice.
Okay.
And nobody's breaking his damn records.
No.
Following
Jerry Rice, I would have to say a guy I really enjoyed watching, Calvin Johnson.
Megatron, absolutely.
Megatron, right?
Shame he had to play for Detroit for so damn long.
He played for them for a long time. Was it like 07 to 15?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He I always used to joke that he just got sick of it. He was like, okay,
I mean,
tired of losing, man.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, what's weird is Detroit got this happen to him. It happened to him twice. You had arguably the greatest running back of all time.
Mm-hmm.
In Barry Sanders, a guy who could have easily stayed on another 3-4 years and had every record he could have ever wanted. Hang him up early. And then you fast forward 20 years, or almost 20 years, you have the same thing happen with potentially at least the greatest receiver of his generation.
I mean, yeah.
In Calvin
the dude
Johnson.
had like 700 something receptions, is close to 1,200 yards. I mean, this guy was a beast.
In like 9 seasons of play.
And he only played 9 seasons for the Lions.
Again, he's another one. He didn't exactly slow down, really. I mean, I remember he was always fantasy football, which I really got into toward the end of his career. He was always a top tier competitor and always a top tier receiver who's taking. It was like toward the end there. Hey, who's getting Antonio Brown? Who's getting Calvin Johnson? Never really declined. Never showed any hint of weakness. I remember him wanting to be the first receiver to have 2,000 yards in a season, and I remember thinking this guy could do it.
Yeah, he would be the guy where you're like, if anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be him. Just explosive, just exciting, fun to watch. I mean, this guy was a beast. Just so fun to watch, man. I mean, I think that's just what it was for me.
Yeah,
Hey,
It wasn't necessarily my team at all, but I watch him all day.
2 days straight, Cowlitz County has not had new coronavirus cases. 2 straight days.
That we know of.
So from Calvin Johnson, I want to talk. Obviously, I could do T.O. because T.O.'s hella funny, but I kind of want to talk about Marvin Harrison. This guy was Peyton Manning's go-to guy. I mean, he was just a quiet, humble dude, but he had such a way about him and his route running and the way that he played. The ball was going to find him no matter what. And while he didn't get his ring, he was a big part of Peyton Manning's formative years. I mean, I think they spent about a decade together and really helped get that guy going. And you line him up, but you had Reggie Wayne on the other side.
They were filthy.
They were just stacked. And then you had Edgerrin James as your running back for a few years there too. Like that Colts offense was filthy, but Marvin Harrison, I mean, he just was always open, and he had some of the best hands in the league. I mean, him and Randy Moss, for a time, it was right there. I mean, they're neck and neck, best hands, and yeah, I can't say enough. I remember him being a fantasy beast. My mom played fantasy football when she worked at the casino that used to be open out here, and all the workers used to play fantasy football, and I do recall her having Marvin Harrison and him just being a beast. And that's how I learned like players' names, aside from
seeing him in commercials and stuff, was just hearing about who was kicking ass on fantasy football for my folks.
Yeah.
And he was one of those guys for sure.
And if I were to pick another, I would say Steve Largent.
Yeah, we got to throw an old schooler in there, and he was the first receiver to have,
as a Hawks fan,
all the records.
This guy was phenomenal at the time. I mean, Hall of Famer, rightfully so.
Yeah, he played 10 straight seasons in Seattle and I think he had all the receiving records when he finished.
Yeah, and he actually moved on to be a U.S. House of Representatives from Oklahoma.
Oh, was that
way
right?
Too. He did more after football, but anyway, he was just a legend, a Seahawks legend for sure. Anybody who was a Seahawks fan knows.
Can I get highlights of this guy where he's not down on the field?
Just love the guy.
Just a great player, and
then he played like 14 seasons.
Well, and you want to talk about like great hands? I mean, dude,
for a white guy. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That dude didn't wear gloves either.
I'm glad somebody else.
That was
brought
before
that
the
up.
gloves. Yeah.
He's out there repping it for the white guys.
He's there barehanded, catching all these passes, touchdowns. I mean, this guy was phenomenal.
Well, and I will say, if we're talking catches, not that he's one of my favorites or anything, but I just gotta relive that Odell Beckham catch. The one that made him a star. I don't care what anybody says.
The one-handed
this
grab
thing,
when he's on the Giants.
I just about shit my pants when I watched this.
I think everybody did.
Just boom. Next thing you know, that's the Madden loading screen for 16.
Flags going everywhere because they didn't know what the fuck they just witnessed.
Yeah, the ref's like, what just happened?
He's like, I'm pretty sure that's PI.
I need a timeout to
Yeah, that
to
catch was
register
too
what just
incredible. That's an offensive pass interference.
Is it just me, or like was Tom Coughlin just always old?
Yeah, I mean
he's still old, isn't he? With
I thought he was like a VP over at Jacksonville now,
Yeah, he
which
is.
is where
He's,
where he was before New York. But yeah, catch right there, the catch heard around the world,
until the Eagles, it was the only team that Tom Brady couldn't beat.
And I think while we're on the topic of wide receivers here, before we get into kind of that tight end O-line section, it's important to note like this year's NFL draft, they're calling it the most stacked wide receiver class ever, and it very well could be. But I always have to look back at that 2014 draft class, which had, Odell Beckham, Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, who I think was taken 4th overall at the time. I'm missing like 3 guys here: Kelvin Benjamin, Brandon Cooks, and there's one more that's going to kill me. But all those guys wound up going for like 1,000 yards that season, which was unheard of. I mean, for a rookie receiver to go over 1,000 had been pretty rare up to that point. I remember Keenan Allen did it the year before and should have got the Offensive Rookie of the Year, but everybody was going gaga over Eddie Lacy. I wonder who's looking better now. But then the year after, 6 players did it, and it was like...
yeah.
But, no, just had to mention it. And we want to talk about, if you guys have a tight end you want to talk about briefly, obviously, I'm going to go with, in my opinion, the GOAT, Antonio Gates. I don't even care if I'm being biased or not. You could say Tony Gonzalez. I say Antonio Gates. Dude didn't play football in college. Played basketball at Kent State and was too short to go play. Said, hey, I guess I'll try football. Came on as an undrafted free agent with the Chargers and just played, 16 seasons of incredible football. I think Rivers to Gates is the greatest touchdown tandem, or not. I think they have the most touchdowns together as a tandem, like quarterback to tight end or something like that ever. It might be quarterback to target in general. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just incredible player, and one that I hope is never forgotten, nor should he be. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go out and just a straight up entertaining guy to watch. Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I cannot stand the Patriots, but you can't not appreciate the hell out of Gronkowski.
And think what that team would have been had Aaron Hernandez not been an absolute fucking idiot.
Well, and then the thing about Gronk is, you look at him, and I've seen them do it when they break down reel all the time. They break down film. He is a mismatch every time he's out on the field. Look, he is a big guy, and you put a defender on him. You can't block the guy. He's a manimal. Like, and they always show it. Look at the classic Patriots exploiting the mismatch, and it's like, yeah, no kidding, they are. You see him from a mile away. Boom, there he is, wide open. Sorry, you're not going to get him on zone defense. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah. I would think for my pick, it would have to be, you can't forget him, Shannon Sharp.
Thank you. Shannon
Sharp. He played for Denver for the first 10, 11 years around there.
Shannon Sharp's a fantastic player.
Man, I'm talking about Super Bowl champion.
He got 2 in Denver, and then he got 1 in Baltimore, too.
Yep, it was Baltimore. He had 10,000 yards, 800 something catches. I mean, this dude was a absolute union.
And if I recall, I think he was a low pick. He was a round 6 guy or something.
Can't remember when he got drafted.
I mean, honestly, he's the first time I remember in my life knowing who the tight end was.
Oh, yeah. I feel like he definitely established that role completely. I think he got inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2011. Definitely proved himself. This guy was fun to watch.
I want to give a shout out to my boy Will Disley.
It's funny.
One day.
Funny he brings that up. For those who don't know us, we did a fantasy football thing, a get together for work last year. It was my first year at Right Line, and we all got 10 of us to do a fantasy football draft, and I did the fantasy footballers ultimate draft kit, and I remember I had written it all down. They haven't broken down by tiers, and I put in my who gives an F tier, I had Will Disley in there with 20 other guys, because tight ends are such a crapshoot these days. And then Skyler's sitting there. He goes, I think I'm gonna pick Will Disley. And Brady and I about cried laughing.
What just does? There was about goddamn everybody there.
Everybody there did.
He got taken before several names as far as tight ends go. Some the big ones were off, but then it was there was some names up there that
pretty sure it was Ebron was still in there.
Ebron was still up there, and Hunter Henry,
Giants.
A few other guys were still there, and Will Disley, and we laughed him out of the room, and then it was that season, before his injury, Disley turned it the hell up and played really well.
He was probably going to be top 3
I drafted him
tight ends that year.
2 or 3 rounds before
he was
I drafted Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and getting back to the Shannon Sharp thing, though, he was a round 7 player. And what's interesting about him, when he came into the league, I believe I believe Sterling's his older brother? Because I thought Sterling Sharp had been, he'd been pretty well known up to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, let me see here. Because he came in as a 7th round pick. You had Sterling Sharp, his brother, who was actually a tremendous receiver with Green Bay before an injury cut his career short. Had that not been the case, I think he would have had a few more seasons and he'd be a Hall of Famer right now. Sterling was fantastic.
Yeah.
But
they got Shannon there with Skip Bayless. They got their thing going on now. He's drinking the Henny, feeling himself.
Shannon's such a character. And
I love him.
I just love listening to this guy talk.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
He's great. You got to have somebody
Just a funny dude.
to keep Skip Bayless in check a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, and he does that pretty well.
Yeah, he's great. Just a fun guy. So if we're going to O linemen, there's so many I could talk about. If I'm not gonna go on a full spiel because I have a few Chargers I like. Obviously, Nick Hardwick, Chris Dealman, Marcus McNeil, Mike Goff, Shane Olivier. That mid 2000s line was awesome. But if I gotta pick an O lineman that I admire the hell out of, it's Joe Thomas.
Okay.
Joe Thomas is one of those guys, and I mean, obviously you're not going to find a lot of O-line highlight reel for our visual aid, but Joe Thomas is one of those guys that he didn't care that he's playing on a crappy Browns team.
Yeah.
They took him 3rd overall before. I remember the thing was when he got drafted, Brady Quinn was supposed to be going in that draft, and everybody was like, "Oh, the Brown, this is so funny to think about. The Raiders get Jamarcus Russell at number 1, and the Browns are going to get Brady Quinn at number 3, and holy crap, and this and that, and then people being pissed off that the Browns took Joe Thomas at 3, and then you got to watch Brady Quinn sit there and wait until somewhere in the 20-somethings till he got drafted and flamed out. But no, just a tremendous guy. He played for 11 years in Cleveland. He started every game, 10-time Pro Bowler, 7-time first-team All-Pro, and just was at the top of his game until he decided to hang him up. I mean, he'll go down as one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my book, absolutely. We had Marshall Yonda, who just retired, who's kind of in that same group. But I honestly think Joe Thomas is one of those guys that I would have killed to have had on any of those Chargers teams. He would have been amazing. An amazing presence in the locker room, an amazing presence on the field. 10,363 consecutive snaps, which is nothing to shake your nose at. Just a tremendous guy. Any of you guys got any O linemen you wanna thank, or are we wanting to move on to defense?
Yeah, let's
I mean,
let's
we
go to defense.
I mean, we could talk about Walter Jones.
Fuck
Yeah.
yeah,
We could talk about this guy.
You better talk about Walter Jones.
I mean, this guy is just straight out of Alabama. He fucking turned it on when he came to the Hawks.
There's an offensive lineman with a highlight reel. Hell yeah.
I mean, he started every game he played. I mean, this guy, he was a force to be reckoned with. I'm more of an offensive guy myself. That's what I played, when I played ball. But you can't forget about your line.
Right.
Your line.
Well,
When I say offensive, I mean like guys who are touching the ball. But you gotta remember the guys who are setting up these blocks, these plays for you to be able to do what you're doing, and that's the most important thing, I think. And this dude was a stud.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember him being one of the first numbers that I think you guys had retired, actually. Because for a while there, I think it was just Largent and the 12.
Yep.
And then Walter Jones, I think, was like the 3rd added to that list. And then he was followed, of course, by Cortez Kennedy a few years later.
I mean, I think the Seahawks coach, Mike Holmgren, he called him the best offensive player that he had ever coached.
I believe it. I mean,
As a lineman.
just a tremendous guy. I mean, even when he's opened up a lane, we just saw there, he'll dive at the feet of another guy just to make sure. Like, there's him holding
I
that.
think he was like a 9-time Pro Bowler.
That looked like a hold.
Well, no, but
Smith wasn't a flag.
but that was him going toe to toe with Dwight Freeney, who at the time was one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
He was the best at his position during that early part of the decade.
Yeah.
He definitely was. He was the best at that position.
Absolutely. I mean, and you talk about a guy. I mean, again, you had a great running back in there at Sean Alexander, and I guarantee you. I mean, Sean Alexander was talented as hell, but without Walter Jones,
he spent his entire career there too in Seattle.
Absolutely, and I tell you what, without Walter Jones, I think that's a hard life.
Yep.
In Seattle,
For sure.
as a running back. Yeah, fantastic player. I'm glad you brought him up because One of the greatest to ever play.
Could not leave him out.
Absolutely. So now we want to get into let's get into some defense, huh? Skyler, who you got?
I love to watch J.J. Watt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When he
sure.
when he plays.
When he's on the field.
You know, 3 years ago.
Yeah, I dig the heck out of J.J. Watt too, man. He just a dynamo out there. I mean, he just tears O-lines up like wet paper.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter who it is either. I mean, if he's there, he has to be accounted for. And even when he's not getting his hands on the quarterback, he's one of those first guys I really started seeing this out on the field. He doesn't have to get his hands on the quarterback to be a problem. I mean, he's the guy who will vault himself over an O-lineman just to swat a ball, and it makes all the difference in the world. Even if the ball gets its full trajectory, it still gets that weird flight pattern, or it just gets knocked down entirely. He gets a hand on the arm of a quarterback, forces him down. He should be a Texan for life, and for a while there, he was part of a really tremendous defense. I mean, on a Texans team that was fighting for its first playoff berth in the early 2010s, you had guys like J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, Brian Cushing, who was another injury-plagued guy who didn't really get his due. Just a monster.
I actually follow him on Instagram, and he posted an
There's
old
him
picture.
right there. Right in RG3's face.
He posted an old picture from his high school days, and he's just punking on himself. Cause he looks like a lanky, string bean dude.
And the gutsy performance in the playoffs this year.
There's him.
Yeah, no,
to come out before he was supposed to be off the injury list after surgery.
He's a guy. He's there for you when he's available. He'll put it all out on the line. You could depend on him. And count on this guy.
And that's a guy, you know, it's funny. People are talking about, Gronk's, Gronk might be doing a match in the WWE. Screw that. I want to see J.J. Watt fucking lace him up and spear a guy down. I want, the modern day Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor match.
Sure.
Get J.J. Watt out there for one match against somebody. I think it'd be hilarious and it'd be tremendous.
Oh, yeah.
That's an animal right there. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, great choice, Skyler. He's a fun player to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go with a guy who was not good for very long, but if I'm repping my team, for about 3 seasons, Sean Merriman was unstoppable.
Okay, yeah.
And unfortunately, he had an injury that really stopped him from reaching his full potential. But when he said lights out,
Charger, but he meant
it.
A goat.
And if we can get well, that was cool. Yeah, but I think that was a commercial.
I think that was a commercial for sure.
Can I get a good freaking highlight off this guy, please? Gotta go with this.
Dude was gritty. He was gritty.
Well, and he was a first-round pick we got. I think that was part of the arrangement we got for the Eli trade. He was a first-round choice for us, 12th overall in 2005. And just, I love that this is clearly from 2000, 5, 6, but it looks like it was shot on a 1920s camera.
Yeah.
What's going on with that? Regardless, he was part of a Chargers defense that is, in that era we talk about that Chargers offense, but that defense, like I was talking to you about the other day, Brady, Sean Merriman and Donnie Edwards and Jamal Williams,
Yeah, that draft class of those guys,
tremendous.
They were just crazy.
And but Merriman was that big linebacker that shot of youth that anchored that whole thing. Wasn't dominant for terribly long, which is why I can't talk about him too much. But for 3 straight seasons from his rookie year to his third year,
he was your guy.
Double-digit sacks, and just a tremendous player, a game changer when he was healthy. So,
all right. So if we're just talking defense,
absolutely.
Okay. So I gotta go with Deion Sanders, one of my favorites. I played cornerback when I played football back in high school. They call him prime time back then. I mean, this guy was incredible. I mean, I think he had like 19 return touchdowns throughout his career. Like,
Yeah, this was a
whether
guy...
that was from, special teams, whatever. Like, this interceptions, like, this guy, quarterbacks hated him.
Absolutely, because it was a case where...
Receivers hated him,
obviously. You weren't just worrying about him swatting a ball or maybe getting an interception. This was, if he gets it, he'll probably take it home.
Oh, yeah. Like, you better believe it.
He gets his hands on the ball. It's a 50-50 shot. It's 6 points right there.
Yeah.
And it's courtesy of Dion.
And he would let you know that don't throw it over here.
Absolutely.
Like, he knows he's the shit.
The original Revis Island.
Exactly.
I
Like,
mean,
he would tell you,
he
I ain't nobody mess with. Like,
he helped put the Falcons on the map.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, the Falcons weren't really anything to really care about.
I mean, this dude's a legend.
Absolutely. I mean, and on and off the field. I mean, the primetime persona was just as much something off the field.
Yeah, I mean,
as it
I think
was
he had
on.
like the return. He had the record for it until like Devin Hester, I think, in like 2014 beat him.
And Hester was that's a
And
guy
that's another-
I'll talk about
Yeah,
too. Hester was so fun to watch. But yeah,
But before that, I mean, he was the dude. Like, he was the guy.
the return man, and there
Yeah.
wasn't. I mean, not since a
There
guy
wasn't
like
anything close in between besides
not
Hester.
since a guy like White Shoes Johnson.
Okay, yeah.
Had you seen a guy return a ball as good as that? You know, and
I mean, he'll take a few hits and then he'll make you dance.
Absolutely.
And then he's gone.
Let's not forget the guy played Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean,
as
this
well.
dude was
Yes.
just an all-around freak athlete.
I mean, don't get me. His stats weren't.
no.
That don't matter.
If I can
You're-
pull him up,
I mean, at that
You're-
point, I mean,
you're
you're
not
playing
seeing
two
it.
professional sports. I mean,
Yeah.
what more can you say to a guy?
You're
I
not
mean,
seeing any Deion Sanders baseball highlight tape.
No, I mean, you're not going to see
But
none of that.
the fact
but,
of the matter is, he did the two sport thing. He got to do that to its fullest, which is one of those big question marks over the head of a guy like Bo Jackson, where it's like,
Yeah.
what if
Yeah.
we could have seen him do both at full time, at full strength, for longer? Dion got to do that, which
I wish Russell Wilson would go play ball one year for the Rangers.
yeah, right. Would that be sick?
Like, be a pitcher.
Because when's the last time somebody's done that? I don't think anybody's done that since.
I think he's on their goddamn.
he's on the New York Yankees.
Now he's on the Yankees. He
Yes.
was on the Rangers.
On the flip side, maybe teams could stop being so damn mean to Tim Tebow, and
He just a little god in your life.
I don't think I get he was a little inaccurate and a little weird, but
Dude, he almost made it. He almost made it to the majors. He was that close.
But as far as football goes, I don't care what you say. Was he going to be throwing 400 yards a game?
I don't care
No.
what you say. Look back at those
All-
college days in Florida. The dude was
Even in Denver,
on one.
all he did was win. He came in, Kyle Orton was sucking a fatty, and Tim Tebow came in and won. And then I remember that playoff game over Skyler's Steelers, and just they go into OT, and just that walk-off touchdown right off the bat, and Skyler's like, I think I'm going to be sick.
I don't give a shit about the Steelers. I don't.
Well, I know, they're Skyler's team. So
The only team that Seahawks fans hate more than the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you talk about
Because
teams that
the
cost
Super
you.
Bowl against the Patriots was a legitimate game.
I saw
There
it.
weren't many bad calls. That Steelers game, there
My
were some bad calls in that game.
no, my girlfriend was on like TikTok or something today, and it was like the open the door challenge, and it was like this door that opens, and then it shows that last play from the Seahawks Patriots. I was like, what? You think this is a?
My question
You
is,
think
why
this
does
is joke?
every,
You know how much this hurts me. Like, why would you show me that?
why does every major football network lead in on a primetime game shows that goddamn play?
No, that's why I can't watch it anymore.
One of these days,
I'll watch Sports Live, and that's
one
about
of these
it.
days, I'm gonna screw with you guys and open the show with it, and I
Oh,
might
no,
not
you're
leave.
not,
I might
Mike.
not leave the room alive.
Yeah, we'll burn your house down.
I almost did.
Yeah.
But dude, so getting back, we just not defensive, but I mean Devin Hester in general, just what a freaking
I
guy.
loved watching him play for the Bears, and I loved watching him with these returns, man. I
Like,
mean,
how many guys did he like I said, how many guys where it's like every time they get a ball in their hands?
He was put on this earth to return footballs.
Well, and what's funny is we had
for
two
a touchdown. I swear
we
to God.
had two tremendous return men in the same era. The only reason why we don't remember necessarily a guy like Josh Cribbs is because Devin Hester played in the same exact time.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Cribbs was a tremendous return man as well, but Hester was the GOAT. I mean, he did it every time. I
think he still has the record for returns. In the
I
NFL.
watched this one live when it happened.
I did too. I think I was in middle school.
That was that was damn funny because he acted like and then he had one.
Was this the year they went to the Super Bowl?
I think so.
I think it was too.
Well, he did one in the Super Bowl against the Colts.
He did. I know.
And there's one that I hope they'll show on this highlight reel that he did against the Vikings.
This dude was fast.
I remember he hit the Vikings with one on Sunday Night Football, and then he after he did it, he's all sitting there waiting, on the next one, all right, I'm ready to do another one.
He lived and breathed this shit.
And that high step, which he got from
Dion,
oh man, yeah, Devin Hester, man,
what a great career.
He changes games, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this guy was unstoppable.
And I believe he was an 06 draft pick. Yeah.
Only other player to surpass Deion Sanders in return touchdowns was Devin Hester.
There's that Super Bowl one. This was at the very beginning.
Sick.
First play of Super Bowl 41, and I remember my mom.
I had a bet. I had a bet with one of my friends in school on who was going to win the Super Bowl. I remember I lost the bet, and I had to pay. So I paid him. It was like $20, but I paid him in quarters.
I remember.
I paid him in change.
After that happened, and Tony Dungy, my mom coined it, and she's like, Tony Dungy's got a look on his face like he just swallowed a cat turd, because he just sat there. He watched Hester run this thing, and then he's sitting there, and he's just like,
everything we've prepared for.
And of course, I mean the Colts.
Because you know damn well that was part of their game plan with Devin Hester.
Absolutely, and here's the thing. But here's the problem. You can't. How do you plan around it?
You can't, dude. I mean, this dude is unpredictable. Even when he's running at you.
You can't plan
don't know
around
what he's doing.
You know going in. Okay.
Look at him.
I mean, there was no seam there.
Like obviously the goal of a kick returner.
They did everything right besides tackle the dude.
Here's the thing. The goal of a kick returner is to get to the end zone. All you got to from day one, it's just stop him.
Mm-hmm.
You can't plan around that because that is the only plan. You
exactly.
know, I mean, man.
That's why it's always fun, and that's why these are like my favorite players. Is like the dudes who get that one touch to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And then they go wild.
On the special teams, huge fan of his show. Huge fan of watching him punt football.
Yes, thank you.
Pat McAfee.
Oh, there he is.
We got to talk about him because he might be. I actually am looking up highlights and not podcast clips for once. He's one of the funniest players in football history, I think. He's such a joy to listen to when I put
talk about
on
the punter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You ever listen to his show, man?
Yeah, the Pat McAfee.
Mike actually got me onto Pat McAfee's show.
This is
one of my favorites. Is his talk about draft day when he didn't get drafted by the Cowboys.
Dude, his daily ritual.
Drafted by the Colts, right? Yeah.
His that's my daily ritual is put on the Pat McAfee show clips and him and AJ Hawk just talking about everything and some of it is like his stories. The one about how he was going to get his first touchdown. And they had this play that they work and nobody ever lines up in the C gap and they're playing the Steelers and how one day, when Vinatieri's like congratulating him, hey, congrats, you're going to get your touchdown, man. In Pittsburgh where he grew up, it's going to be awesome, and Heinz Field. Hey, thanks, man. And then he goes, Troy freaking Polamalu lines up in the C gap. And nobody ever lines up in the C gap. And he goes, Troy Polamalu just ruined my dreams right there.
What a dick.
And he goes, I couldn't do it. I had to call an audible. We had to go.
I had to call an audible.
We had to go for a field goal. I couldn't. And then Chuck Pagano was like, hey, good job, kid. What'd you see out there? I said, he's in the freaking C gap. That's what I saw out there. Troy Polamalu's right there. He's going to kill me.
How many punters do you see that just lay hits?
That's exactly right.
No, you don't see him.
McAfee was the first I'd ever really seen do stuff like that.
And there's some that you see who will attempt it, and then they get flat.
If I had a
Here
nickel,
comes one right here.
if I had a
They get
nickel,
put the
Here comes one right here.
They get put in timeout.
number one, big number one right
Oh.
there.
Yeah.
Putting his whole shoulder into it.
Look at
He
that.
doesn't even care. Like, fuck. If I had a nickel for every time like Vinatieri got laid out trying to bring our turn man down, and
Vinatieri's a legend.
and I
too,
love
if we're about legends right now.
I love Vinatieri.
He's a legend.
That's a guy
All time.
He'll be a Hall of Famer.
all time
4 rings.
for sure.
I mean, he did it all, and 4 rings, and 5 Super Bowl appearances.
And don't tell me he had nothing to do with it, because he had everything to do with it.
Do the Patriots have 2
Super
Super
Bowls.
Bowl wins without Vinatieri? I mean,
Do they? Probably, but did it help? Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
he
There's
kicked 2 game winners for him.
that, especially
Then they probably don't have those two.
the one against the Panthers. That was the biggest nail biter, and Vinatieri at the time was the best.
I don't
kicker
care
in
what
the
anybody
NFL.
says. Vinatieri, national treasure.
Oh, here comes another. This is a good one.
Is that a vacuum?
Leaf blower.
Oh, okay.
Somebody's doing yard work during the podcast.
Squidward.
Sorry about that. I was worried we were going to get sucked into the time tunnel again, and we were going to have some big fucking problems.
It's 2020. Anything can happen, Mike.
So if we're talking punter highlights, I have 2 things.
Ooh, I love punter highlights. Isn't that what you like? That's probably
Hey.
like my most searched YouTube history is
Listen,
punter highlights.
there's one guy that I need to bring up, and I'm going to do the Chargers thing again because I don't care, dude. That's not what I want. Mike Cyphers getting destroyed compilation.
Mike, what is your search history right now? I'm seeing some odd stuff.
What? What are you seeing?
He's fucking with you.
Okay, I had to think. I'm like, what are you looking at? First of all, I don't know why it was in the player mode. So Mike Cyphers is a guy with a cannon of a leg, dude.
Oh yeah,
Look at that 1 yard corner. Now, what I remember though
that
is,
landed too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
The Chargers and Mike Cyphers. If you want to remember him for one game, you remember him for the Chargers and the Colts. The AFC wildcard game would have been January 2009.
Yeah.
Mike Cyphers pinned the ball in the 20 from his own 20 4 times. Which is
it was literally like one after the other.
insane.
I remember the crowds were going crazy.
He
They were
made
like,
Manning have to drive every damn time, and he almost did. But like I said, Manning in a Colts uniform was, the Chargers were his kryptonite. The same way Tom Brady was ours. But yeah, I had to bring up punters, and then I got to bring up one more because it's not for what you think. It's just because it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. We'll just play it on the show. Or I guess we won't. Oh, yeah.
Bill Jaguars select Brian Anger, punter, California.
We've got a punter. Let me tell you something, people. Punters are people too. I want to see some punting footage. Give me some punting XO. Punting XO.
That's all I could think of.
Punting XO. Yes. What a kick.
Anger is a
I love Eisen.
He's not a punter. He's a
weapon.
He's a punt.
Got it, Rich. Take her out.
I want this one.
Hey, speaking of Rich Eisen, next year.
He got taken before Russell Wilson.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. Next year. During the combine, we need to all run a 40 and do the run Eisen run.
Okay.
Post our 40s up on
That'll be fun.
the internet.
That'll be
The
fun.
damn-
What's funnier is he was taken before Russell Wilson.
The damn Brian. So the punter thing, though, I just love how. That's what I thought when I was
Punters
like.
people.
I was like, if I'm gonna bring up punting highlights, and then, and then Brady's like, that's what I like is punting highlights. That's what I gotta hear. And then I just like that's the first thing I thought was like.
Just gets Brady going.
Draft fact: Brian Anger is the highest pick punter since 1995.
Okay, it tickled my pickle. Like, shut the fuck up. Dude. What are you talking about? Punters are people too.
I want to see some punting footage. Yes. I love that. He's like, I want this one. Oh, just be quiet. Play more punting footage. I freaking love Eisen, dude. He's so funny.
East West Shrine. And Mike, you remember warm-ups? Yeah, we were on the field warm-ups. Coach Billett.
No,
It's
he
like
punted.
batting practice and hearing that guy. That one guy, you know that guy where you go, that's just different? That was Brian
That's
Anger
just
at East
different.
West Shrine.
Yeah, he punted that ball. That's just different.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
I just love it. I've never heard a guy riff on punting footage so damn much. I just the way he says it, like when his voice cracks and he's just like, "I want to see some punting XO.
Yeah.
I want to see some punting XO."
Oh.
Oh my god.
No, I've never heard anybody shit on punting. Like
So-
that. That's funny though.
Unless we have any more players that we want to cover, I think that's about it for the show. Is it not?
Yeah.
I'd like to.
I mean,
We lost
we
it.
could go on and on about it all the time,
Oh my
but
God,
it would just
yeah.
go too long.
I know we're not a music podcast and whatnot, but I'd like to say rest in peace, Joe Diffie. Lost him to the Roni this week.
Yeah,
I think maybe if
if
Mike could look it up, maybe he should send us out with some "Prop Me Up" by the Jukebox.
Was that
Before I Die?
Was that the guy that Buttercup
Yeah,
was
Butter-
not happy about it? How do you spell that?
He asked me, he goes, you know who Joe Diffie is? I go, oh yeah. I go, yeah, he just died to the corona, right? He goes, I go, that's sad. He goes, sad? Because that's a goddamn tragedy.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, he wasn't having
It's
it.
definitely sad.
This will get his copyright striked on YouTube though.
No,
Nah. No.
Jukebox, that's a good one. He's a country music legend. He is.
That's gonna be about the wrap up of our show. Stay safe. Stay from the Rona.
Stay indoors. Social distancing. 6 feet, motherfucker.
6 feet. That's right. We're
That's
six,
our
we're all 6 feet.
that's our new right line motto.
It's our mantra.
Be sure to stay safe, everybody. And if you want to find us on Facebook, we are Longshots Sportscast. We're working on getting the videos on YouTube now, thanks to a good friend of the show, John Self. Jace, who you heard earlier, if we can get him out of the time tunnel, he will be co-hosting a music-based podcast with me that is as of yet untitled, and that will be coming down the pipeline
Probably post-quarantine.
post-quarantine. So that's something to look forward to. If you want, you can follow me on Twitter at straight STR8 Edge.
8 as the number 8.
Yes, sir. _ Mike MIKE. And if Brady's Twitter isn't
Compromised by ISIS.
yeah, you can find him at BRUK. That's capital B RUKK 24.
And I will be working on a Twitter this week.
And Skyler will be working on a Twitter this week.
Everybody stay safe. Stay home. If you don't have to go out, don't do it.
Don't do it.
And please, folks, wash your fucking hands.
And
Just wash them hands.
remember to wipe. Don't fill up on bread.
And shut the toilet bowl after you flush. I heard there's fecal matter that's causing corona too.
And nobody wants their girlfriend to fall in. So that's gonna do it for us. Stay inside.
It gives me a 20-second head start.
That's right. Stay inside, you filthy animals, and we'll catch you next time, right here with the first mock draft. Take it easy, guys.